where you day all my life, oh, all my life, oh.
Mr. Worldwide.
We on a world tour with my man.
What's up? This is Heath, one half of Global Brothers Podcast, and today we're vibing with Dubai-based Nigerian singer-songwriter MKO. Check it out. MKO.
Hey man.
Global Brothers Podcast. Welcome, man.
Thanks very much. Good to see you. Yeah, Marlon, always a pleasure, my brother. Always a pleasure. I know, man.
Yeah, welcome.
They need to know. We'll go way back. You get me?
Brother, you've been on fire lately.
Well, great times, man. Can't complain. It's been a long time coming, really, but we're glad we're here now.
Yeah.
Still a work in progress, you know, taking those what do you call it, giant baby steps.
Definitely.
But yeah.
Definitely. The one thing that I see is you're creating a community swell more in Dubai and then out there in the African diaspora.
Well, I think even though I'm based in Dubai, my music shouldn't just be about Dubai where I'm based.
Definitely.
It's always about cutting across, really. So yeah, I've been busy putting in the work with ensuring that my music is played in Africa, all over Africa, in the Middle East, and so on and so forth.
Definitely.
You see, you're always very calculating. Even you chose today to meet us at this dope hotel. Like
It's amazing.
Yeah, he's now it's like, okay, you know, like we're gonna show you guys later on this piano. They got a see-through piano, John Legend style.
Yeah.
You know, MKO's a Sean.
Well, here's one thing you need to know about MKO is it's all about connecting. You know, connecting with people. You know, it doesn't always have to be about the music in any industry, and that's why I've been very lucky. I mean, with my music video, Good Lovin', I shot that video at the World Island, the Lebanon Island, here in the UAE.
Wow.
You know, to get a booking there for a video shoot is ridiculous. I don't want to drop numbers.
Right.
But the fact that I was able to shoot my video there comes with the network and the, you know, and the relationship I've built with people over the years.
Your network is your network.
It's very important.
Definitely.
And then here we are, you know, in ARJAN, ROTANTA. You know, you guys should check out Cilantro Restaurant. They've got the best lunch deals you could ever think of. You got to come back.
For sure.
Amazing
Definitely.
shisha, great place. I meet my clients here for meetings, people who need me to work with them as an influencer, and the list goes on. Sometimes I meet my creators, the talents I work with on Art Fusion. I meet them here.
Okay.
So it's a great place. You guys should, you know, check it out. Always about connections and network.
Shoot, because I got so many questions for this man.
And as you can see, Heath, within just that little bit that he said there was so much to unpack.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Art Fusion is something that I'm really a big fan of, you know, that you've been doing for a couple years now.
Right.
Can you tell us a bit about that and how you got into Art Fusion and what it's all about and what kind of move you're trying to do right there, what you're trying to build community-wise?
Well, first I'd like to thank you for being involved in what we do with Art Fusion Night. You know, we're friends, and but he always makes it a point to be a part of the community. Now, Art Fusion Night is a platform that I created to showcase local-based talents from music, art, fashion, poetry, comedy, and the list goes on. When I started the platform, there weren't that many opportunities for local-based talents to showcase themselves. Now, what we've done with Art Fusion Night is through Art Fusion Night, so many people have had opportunities to showcase themselves on bigger platforms. We've collaborated with Dubai Food Festival, Dubai Tourism, Nikki Beach, and the list goes on. I've seen my talents win awards just because they've been involved in Art Fusion Night. I've seen established artists that their paintings goes for, the cheapest goes for $7,000, for example, but they've never really showcased at an art-related platform.
Right.
And, you know, just coming up with the fact that I've lived here for as long as I've lived, if I had a platform like Art Fusion Night when I was starting out, perhaps it would have made it a lot more easier for me to grow as an artist. So that's the vision and idea behind Art Fusion Night. And I've seen other people replicate the concept of Art Fusion Night. Now here's what you need to know. That was the vision. The vision had always been about more platforms coming up for creators to showcase themselves. It's never about, you know, who started it or who created what. It's about more opportunities. If I run Art Fusion Night and you're part of Art Fusion Night and you run a different platform and MKO is involved in that, it becomes, you know, that's it, you know, more opportunities.
That's the purpose.
That's the purpose. That's exactly what it is.
And that's, you know, that's beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
It's refreshing because you're lifting as you climb,
yeah.
right?
That's it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's wonderful. I want to ask you some questions about the Kenya swell that you have down there. A huge following in Kenya.
Mambo.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't have. It's because I'm in a place like Dubai. Dubai gives you that opportunity to meet people from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Right.
My fan base is not. I'm Nigerian, but I can assure you that my fan base is not more Nigerians. It's a good balance.
Right.
You get me? It's a mix, and that's what makes my Kenyan fan base what it is.
Okay.
So I have so many Kenyan fans here in the UAE who have also helped with ensuring that my music gets as far as it has gotten
Right.
already in Kenya. So when I get into Kenya, it's something else.
They know who you are.
Yeah.
Wow.
They know me. I get bookings. I get gigs. I'm looked after.
Were you
know.
surprised when you got to Kenya and you saw all that love?
I was blown away.
Really?
You know, I mean, if I've been in a situation like that before, right? So I don't know what to expect. I always try to just keep an open mind. Do you get me? So, but I was more blown away as opposed to be surprised.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was.
Appreciative.
Yeah,
The
that's
hum-
it. Like
humble.
that was
Love.
that was
Very humble.
Yeah, and I had an interview with someone who said to me that, you know, when you come to when a Kenyan artist comes to Nigeria
Yeah.
to do the same, like try and promote the music, will they be appreciated? The truth is, we Nigerians actually want them to come, so we can, you know, sort of let them know that when we travel elsewhere to promote our music is because we also want people to visit Nigeria and do the same.
Right.
You get me? Exchange, you know, get involved. I might be from Africa, Nigeria, but our culture is different in a way, you know,
Right.
like, you know, the food is different, you know, the things to see are different. When I go to Kenya, I'm surprised, and when you come to Nigeria, it's pretty much the same.
That's
So yeah, the
fantastic.
love was exceptional.
And that's really interesting there with the musical taste between, 54, 55 countries.
Yeah.
Now, coming from where Heath and I are from in the States, we have that whole West Coast, East Coast kind
Yeah.
of thing, and even down south and Midwest, everyone has their own vibe.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So also, obviously, before there was a bit of beef or what have you, but you know now it's all love. You know,
Yeah.
that all mixes, and even people use each other's words and each other's slang,
Yeah.
and different kinds of things they wear, etc. You really don't know who's who anymore.
Yeah, I
Which,
agree.
You know, that mixing of cultures,
Yeah.
you know, we think is a good thing anyway. So,
Yeah.
I mean, is
Yeah.
Africa like that?
Well, it is like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm from the West, and Ghana is from the West. In Africa, we always have that Ghana jollof, Nigerian jollof, which is
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
I think, you know, you have people.
It's friendly banter, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
friendly
yeah, yeah.
banter, and you have people on social media who literally just all they do is come up with a concept that would create a good conversational starter online. You know, it doesn't. You know, like when I go to Ghana, I feel at home.
Really?
It's crazy. I mean, like during Christmas last year, I was in Ghana the whole of night. So we have that. You know, we have that. You know, the East, the West, all of that. But in Africa, there is, you know, there is more unity in comparison to, you know, to what you guys encounter in the States. Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
You started at 12? Singing? Church?
Yeah, man.
Tell us about that and who pushed you in front of a microphone?
Well, you've done your research, mate.
Hey.
I started singing at the age of 12 in the choir. At one point, people thought I was going to be a pastor because I've, you know,
Okay.
I do preach occasionally with my, you know, with the rest of my peers when I was much younger. And then let's just say, fast forward, you know, I was in a band. Over time, we all sort of, you know, split up, and everyone was doing their own thing. When I took music seriously was when I wrote a song for a friend of mine who is from the Indian Ocean, and it was a Christian song, and it picked up, you know, and I was like, you know what, maybe it's time to go back to doing music again, because I've always been in love with music. So it all started when I moved to Dubai and I wrote that song. It picked up, and I started writing again, and you know, the rest is history. And I think one of the challenges I faced, I guess we'll probably get to that, is, you know, being a professional by day, and then you know, making music at night. It's just, but yeah, so far it's been a great journey. Yeah.
And I did want to ask about the challenges of, you know, the grind, the hustle of working that day job and then making sure your craft is sharpened.
Well, as you know, music is a is an expensive business to get into. You know, the talent can only get you, you know, as far if you don't have that financial backings in terms of people. You know, like a record label, for example. So I own my own label, and you know, and I manage myself. I have a team. I have people who look after me behind the scenes. So
is that the independent grind?
Yeah, it's pretty much, you know, in that, but it's a registered label in the UAE. You know, most people probably don't know that, in the UAE, in Nigeria, Kojak Legacy.
Kojak Legacy.
Yeah, so it's a label, it's an event company, it's a clothing line, it's a bunch of stuff.
So you got your own 360 deal with yourself.
Pretty much.
How about that?
Yeah. So there's so many people who don't know about this. So when my music is published and it's streamed, it basically comes to me.
Back to you.
You know,
ownership is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten people who reached out and want to get involved in MKO, but look, the deal has to be great. If it's not, I'm gonna keep grinding until.
Definitely.
To answer your question, the reason I needed that 9 to 5 was so I can have the financial support to grow myself as an artist. You know, social media goes a long way, but you know, when you still need that financial support to plug in your music.
There's an artist we grew up on named KRS-One.
Yeah.
And,
and
yes. And you know what he said?
Yeah.
You just mentioned it, but I'll repeat what he said verbatim. He said, that guy who works in the restaurant and who is an MC at night, he's an MC. He just works at the restaurant to fuel his...
That's it. That's exactly
he's really an MC. He doesn't work at the restaurant. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, think about it. I mean, I've gone for networking events, and I've been in the circle of, you name it, in terms of people at the, you know, in the corporate world. When I tell them that I'm a singer, for example, you know, it's almost like,
well, you're in the box.
We don't see it, you know. So I do have that, my alter ego. You've been around me when my alter ego is out there, and the corporate side of corporate side of me. So that money is important to keep body and soul together.
From knowing you for a while and being familiar with your work on both sides, it's rare that you find an individual like you that is a cultural chameleon. That can so smoothly and adeptly move between the two. And I want to try to string my point here together with the fact that you said that your musical brand picked up when you moved to Dubai. Which is kind of what the point of Global Brothers Podcast is. Showing people that going global can also open up new avenues for them. Open your mind and actually even somewhat change your path positively. So how's that? Not how has it, because obviously you explained that to him, but how is that positively affecting you, the move to Dubai and becoming global?
Well, the move to Dubai was obviously to become a professional or work as a professional, and it worked. You know, I was meant to become I came as a tourist, and I got my first job when I moved out here 11 years ago, and that had only led to more opportunities. And it's the story of most people who are here. They come out with the intention to be in the UAE for 2 years.
Always.
you know, and then you end up 5, and at one point you just forget about putting a timeline to it. And what happens then is you realize that you're connecting with other people from different backgrounds, and that only grows your network, and you realize that you've created a community for yourself where you are. So I don't see Dubai anymore as just Dubai. I see Dubai as home. You know, so when I go home to Nigeria, that's where I'm from. Do you get me? When I'm around, I mean, I can pick up the phone and we call you and like, hey, what's up? you've been in Kenya for too long, when are you coming back?
Sure.
That's the sort of community
Yeah.
I have created for myself.
It's a global community.
Yeah, a global community.
Definitely.
And that's it. So over time, you realize that you're not alone.
Right.
You're in a place where you can connect with people from the same sort of history or
Right.
story from wherever you've come from.
And before
Yeah.
you came over, did you have that fear of what's it like over there? Have you heard stories about living abroad before?
Yeah.
Or was there like more so a confidence of, you know what, I can find opportunity over there, I'm just going to do it? Like, how was that comfortable level
Yeah.
for you prior?
Well, I came out as a tourist, so and then when all the other opportunities came, I kept an open mind, you know. So I wasn't really sure of what to expect, even though I knew about Dubai.
Right.
You know, funny story. When I came to Dubai, I had my kit, like, to learn Arabic. I had CDs, I had books, I had everything, you name it. And I showed up to the office, and everyone at work, including the Arabs, they all spoke better English than than I do. Do you know what I mean? And that, obviously, what does that mean? It just sort of made it a lot more easier to adapt to the system.
Yeah.
You get me? So, you know, I don't think I was homesick at the early stages, and that's because I'm from a very big family.
Okay.
So where I'm from, back home, I don't need friends because we are a lot.
Right.
You know, so I was homesick at the early stages, but over time, when I started building my community, my colleagues became my friend,
Yeah.
my friends. You know, so I used to look forward to going to work,
Right.
and after work, I would hang out with the same people. You know, it made life a lot more easy, and that's it. If you're ever considering coming to the UAE, try to build a relationship with the people you work with.
Right.
It would only make work easier.
Brother, I'm sure you've opened a lot of doors and a lot of eyes from people coming from Nigeria to
Yeah.
Dubai because of you.
Yeah.
Speak to that. Speak to some people who look and say, you know what, maybe I can go global, right?
Yeah.
Or just go abroad and just visit you, right?
Yeah.
And see you perform in another country.
Yeah. So every performance I've been involved in the UAE, there's always someone flying in from Nigeria
See
or
that?
Ghana to watch me for some reason. So the way I've been able to create a community for myself in Dubai, I've maintained the community I had in Nigeria before coming out here.
Yeah.
So each time I have something, people want to come out and be involved in what I do. And the reason is, when they've kept up with everything I do, and they've realized that, hang on, Dubai is not that bad after
Right.
all. You get me? And you know, and then you have Christians who worry about, can I go to church? I do go to church.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about the basic stuff. Just come out, keep an open mind, and be willing. You know, be willing to make the most of whatever opportunities are there before you when you move to a place like Dubai. Yeah.
You know, the one thing that I think is, I found impressing about your following is a lot of artists, and I've seen this in the States, where they'll have 2 million followers or 3 million followers, but they can't sell out a show,
Yeah.
right? Or they don't have real fans,
Yeah.
right? They're just popular.
Yeah.
And they can't monetize that popularity.
Yeah.
You've seemed to have real fans as
Yeah.
followers.
Yeah.
So speak to that. Speak to your fan base.
Right. My first music video was Dance the Night Away. That video cost me, that's the most expensive video I've ever shot. Now the reason I'm saying this is, when I shot that video, I knew at one point my music would go far. Everyone in that music video, everyone, each and every one of them is a friend of mine. So these guys are my friends, and I wanted to always reflect back whenever, you know, my music picks up. I want to reflect back and be like, yeah, these are my people. And that's the relationship I have with my fans. So I've had people who started following me from day one, and occasionally I try to, you know, get involved in replying to messages. You know, I have fans who are way older than I am, whereby they come to my event just because they buy into the product, not the content sometimes. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, the brand.
Yeah, I am the brand. So people buy into me, my vision, and they want to get involved. And that's what I've been able to do with Art Fusion. Like, for example, can you tell me where in the UAE can anyone charge you to come and watch an up-and-coming artist? That's what I try to create, that if talent is great and you have a great personality, people will get involved in your brand. You know, and that's the relationship I have with my followers. It's not about, you know, fake followers and fake comments and everything. No. For me, I'm going to stick to who I am. And when I go to Ghana, my fans become my friends. They want to reach out. They want to see what I do. They want to come out to my show. It's the same in Kenya. Now I went to Kenya and I had an interview. And they took me to the TV station. The producer of that show did everything to ensure that I got the interview, and it was a great show that has a lot of traffic. After my interview, she comes out and she says to me, "My nephew is a fan of yours."
See that? Wow.
My nephew is a fan of yours. He's not feeling so well. He really wanted to be in the studio because of you. Can you send him a video? Now, she had no clue what that meant to me.
Yeah.
That at this point, I'm just at 25,000 following, and I didn't know that I could have such fans that have been following my work, who are genuine fans of my work. And that's the relationship I have with everyone
That's fantastic.
I get involved with. And that changed my life, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't expect it. Yeah.
And you keep that humbleness with you all the way up.
Well, I mean, what would it cost you not to be humble? You realize that it takes.
I like that. Yeah.
Think about it, man. It takes more energy to be, can I be blunt, a jerk, than to be human.
Right.
You know. And
exactly. What would it cost?
What would it cost you to be humble? Nothing. You know.
Profound.
I have worked with people in the UAE that even at this my current, you know, based on how much work I've put in, I've seen people who have not reached. Let me just put a bit of brag into it, who have not reached what I've done, and I keep wondering, what's the point? You know, like, you live your life like, you know, the entire city is yours. It wouldn't cost you anything to just bring yourself down, humble, and realize that it's a journey. You know, it's a journey. Yeah.
You know, my love for music and musicians, the art, I've gotten into, like some of your fans, less of the music, but into the artists and what their moves are.
Yeah.
And the one thing I can appreciate about you is you're going to be around for a long time by the way you operate, right?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're not a one-hit wonder. You're not looking for that one, we used to call them ringtones, right?
Yeah.
But that one hit, one hit where you just peak and decline.
Yeah.
You're one of those 30, 40-year artists where you're going to be performing for a long time because of how you're building your fan base.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I want to be that guy that you just don't want to know me as an artist.
Right.
You know, I want to be invited to an event, you know, as a guest, and people would show up without wanting to see me perform. If I perform, it's a plus.
Right.
That is the brand I'm building.
Jamie Foxx.
That's it.
Like a Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx goes and just talks. People just want to listen to him talk, and then he's like, no, you know, and then like,
right.
Oh, and he sang.
Right.
Yeah. You know,
and act.
Yeah.
And
then you have the likes of Akon, and then you have the likes of John Legend, for example.
They'll be around forever.
You know, they'll be around.
Yeah.
People buy. I mean, these people are guys who have created a brand for themselves, and it's not just about the music.
Right.
You know, and then when people buy your record, for example, and still show up to an event that they just invited you as a guest, that's, you know.
Well, I guess I'm full of compliments, but I got another one for you. The people who follow you know you, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times we like artists and we like songs, but we don't know them, right? And then when we find out they're messing in something inappropriate, we're like, whoa, you know?
Yeah.
But your artists, you allow them to know you.
Yeah. And if I can correct that, there are people who know my music who don't know me. Yeah. Okay. So, for example, Relate is such a big tune that when people eventually come to know that it's an MKO song, they get blown away, they get surprised.
Okay,
You know.
okay.
And then eventually, when they come to know me, then I can have that relationship with them, if that makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. So there are people who know me and
Uh-huh.
know me as an artist, and those who know my music, but they don't know the face behind
That makes
the,
sense.
the music.
Right.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah.
Wow.
So and I'm working with a company in the UAE that sort of helps with, you know, with my music getting streamed online, for example. So there are so many people who listen to Relate, for example, Good Loving and all the others. But it's just, oh, that's a great song, you know, but they've never really gone as far as checking out the videos or looking into the artist. And then at one point, when they eventually discover who he is, it just makes a difference.
Right.
Come full circle.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to touch on the global aspect of where you're looking to take your music to, and even your brand, as you said.
Yeah.
Not just the music, but all around, like your artistry and all. We see nowadays with Nigerian music specifically,
Yeah.
it's become this global phenomenon.
Yeah.
You know, be it the Davidos and the P Squared and the, you know, what have you. Like, these guys are in the UK, they're
Yeah.
in the US,
Yeah.
and they're staying true to.
So, I mean, you have legends like Fela Kuti, for example, Bright Chimezie, or Rent Brothers. These guys saw the future.
Pioneers.
They are the pioneers of what Afrobeat is now.
Right.
You know, they've always known that at some point Afrobeat would change the world. And you know, if it worked for legends, then the likes of the P Square, the D'banj, and the Wizkid and the Davidos, and myself, you know, we have to stick to that format.
Right.
You know, and we can be very patriotic as Nigerians, so we always ensure that our culture is spread.
Right.
You know, yeah.
So I know that MKO is an acronym for your name.
Yeah.
However, there's an MKO from way back in Nigeria.
Yes.
Were you also being patriotic in that sense as well?
Not really.
Okay.
So I used to work for a law firm here in the UAE,
Okay.
where the short form for, you know, for example, if I want to send an email to you know, my full name, for example, we had those initials.
Okay.
So MKO was an initial, and so I've always had that in a way. But then, you know, I figured, how can I have my full name
Right.
in one?
Okay.
And it only made sense to go with my initials. So that's
Right.
my first, second, and last
Last
name.
name, right.
Yeah. And after I came up with MKO, someone mentioned MKO Abiola, and that's when it staked. Like, oh, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a link, right? But yeah, it wasn't me being
Wow.
patriotic in any way. It was just.
But it's almost
Yeah.
like kindred spirits, right? Like poetic, that, you know.
Yeah, in a way.
Legacy, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, it has its benefits.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I eventually achieved my goal by having to have all my names in one. But then, at the early stages, before I have all these articles about me, when you go online and search for MKO, for example, you'd find, you know, the legend MKO Abiola, because, you know, he is quite an important man, even though he's no more.
Right.
So to make it easier, you're gonna have to search MKO singer or MKO Dubai-based artist, for example. But then I think I'm grateful now that there is so many information about me online, so you don't have to worry.
Well, you've made a name for yourself, brother.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I appreciate that.
I
Yeah.
guess that's a good segue to talk about the digital space, because when a lot of people do go global in today's day and age, they do worry about, well, is technology kind of the same as where they're from, whether they're moving to the Middle East or moving to Africa, or these emerging economies. Yeah, and how do you find that? I mean, sure, you're coming from Nigeria, which is an emerging economy as well.
Yeah.
And then, you know, coming to UAE.
Yeah.
But then also you need to release your music in the West. Too,
Yeah.
You know, be it the UK or the US. So I mean, like, how is that promotional value for you going?
Well, online just makes life a lot more easier. It makes you accessible, you know. But like in the UAE, for example, everyone listens to the radio because we're always in the car, always.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
always. So if you're able to get that far where your music, like when you heard the likes of Wizkid or Davido or P Square on radio in the UAE, that's it. Yeah, that means it's huge.
Right.
You get me? So a lot of us have to rely on the online space in order to get our music out there, and it's the same in Nigeria.
Okay.
You know, if you're able to, you know, to get your music that far, then and that's it. But keep in mind that regardless where you are, there are only certain people spend that much time on social media.
Yeah.
So you don't have to narrow down your reach just to social media. You gotta have to find all those other avenues. I mean, for example, the other day someone sent me a video of my music being shown in the mall.
Really?
So you know how you have those screens,
Yeah.
you know, in the mall somewhere in Holland, and you know it was shown. I didn't do that.
In Holland?
Yeah, I didn't
Wow.
do that.
Wow.
I didn't do that. You know, so you realize that all these platforms, they are either linked to, you know, perhaps the Tunka, for example, or Sony Music or iTunes. There is a link somewhere whereby once you've signed up onto those platforms, they get your music everywhere. So when those music are uploaded onto those platforms, it shuffles, and sometimes they could just pick an MKO song and that's it, and someone random could just be watching it.
Wow.
You
How
know,
about that?
yeah, and then you have the online radios, for example, and what happens then is when you Shazam it, instantly MKO is on your phone.
Right.
Yeah, so you'll be surprised. I'm everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I have guys in, you know, in South Africa, for example. You name the biggest online music streaming site in South Africa or wherever, MKO is there, and it's the same in Russia. My music is there online, you know. So I have more of an online base presence because, you know, I've come to the realization that when you try radios, for example, it goes a long way, but you gotta have to be like a massive record label at some point to
Backing.
yeah,
A machine
a
behind
machine. Yeah.
How far have you gone to perform? What's the furthest country?
Oh, the furthest I've gone to perform. Let's see. I think it would be Seychelles. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's where it would be.
What was that experience like? Island country.
I can just put it this way, right? Small island, very, you know, small population. 6,000 people showed up to an MKO concert.
That's impressive for Seychelles.
So
6,000.
it wasn't like an MKO was a headliner, obviously, but I'll give you an example. Same experience in Kenya. So there's a song I have, Good Loving.
Yeah.
And Relate. So a DJ in Seychelles, who's a big deal, came across that song and just put it on radio. And it was playing.
Wow.
So when I got on stage to perform, people knew my tune, and they didn't know who it was. And then there were those who knew who he was. And I have a video of that performance, people in the front row going nuts, you know. So the reason I say the furthest I've ever gone is because a small island is where I've ever performed for a bigger crowd.
Wow.
You know, so I've done, you know,
That's a lot of people,
2,000,
6,000.
3,000, you name it. But yeah.
Especially singing your song.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
I don't do covers, I only do originals.
Yeah.
Never,
Good.
I don't do covers, so you gotta have to take it, man.
Right.
But yeah, so I've done Seychelles, I don't want to drop names, but yeah.
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
I've done all right.
That's
Yeah.
dope, man.
Wow.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Well, we want to get your you know, we always get everyone's take that we have on the podcast of just, you know, give the people out there just your advice on living global.
Yeah.
And just what you would tell them in terms of your experience and just, you know, what you think about. I'm not going to put the word into your mouth. You tell the people what you think about going global and living a global lifestyle.
What I would say about going global or leaving global is, if you find yourself, first of all, do your research about where you want to go. And when you do get there, spend some time to learn about the people and what you could give back to that community in order for you to make it your own. And when you eventually find that thing, whatever it is, try to be original, stay true to it, and see how far it gets you. And don't be afraid to jump. It's, we always have that fear of the unknown, and when you finally find yourself in that space and you've discovered what it is, try to be original and be willing to take chances. And when you eventually get there, try to carry other people along as well is important.
Very.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Wow. Powerful, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And
Wow.
it's a pleasure being on
Likewise.
your podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
And I'm glad you guys, saw value in what I do to have me here.
Oh, for sure.
It means a lot, man.
And
One more thing, and stay humble.
Mr. Worldwide.
What's going on, everyone? My name is MKO, the Dubai-based singer-songwriter, and you're watching Global Brothers Podcast. Subscribe, stay tuned, and if you get a chance, pick up this bad boy. I promise you, it will change your life. Yeah? Bless.